NHL Awards night show tonight on Got Your Back. Welcome everybody into the show. We got Shaugger. He's down in Nashville sweating it out in sweltering heat. We've got Joaquin Gage, guest contributor tonight. We love having him and his good looks. Everything looks better when he's wearing leather. And of course, me, Jason Strudwick. The Got Your Back podcast is brought to you by Mr. Dirk, an iconic men's clothing store in our city. If you're looking to elevate your wardrobe, let Sterling Dan and the great staff at Mr. Dirk help you find exactly what you're looking for. Suits, shirts, ties, lots of casual wear as well. Mr. Dirk has what you need just off White Avenue and 102 Street. Trust me, he makes me look good. My wife gets a little handsy when I slip into some of the gear from there. Boys, welcome everyone into the show. Shaugger, Gager. What are you laughing about, Shaugger?
You did good, buddy. I love it. The wife getting handsy when you slip into your Mr. Dirk. Like,
she does.
How do you get handsy when you're in a turtleneck? Like, you can't get handsy with a guy in a turtleneck.
But you know the piece I'm talking about, that sweater, it's like a sweater jacket. I slipped that thing on. Honestly, I turn into like Fabio. I look like Fabio to like a lonely housewife.
Gager.
I'm just like,
Gager, he got more play on the Sportsnet set this year out of that sweater vest suit coat thing than you got out of that leather jacket, man. Between the two of you, those were epic outfits on set this year for Oiler games, boys.
Hey, Shaugger, the fashion, you have to break the walls, the fourth wall, and I think Struddy.
Yep.
I'm looking for even bigger and better things from what Mr. Dirks can do for both of us going into. I'm all about sweaters. I'm all about flannel. Let's see what they got. I like to be warm up there. It's cold. It's freezing out there.
Yeah. Well, you got to stick with us here on Got Your Back, because if you do a few more episodes, become a little more regular, might be able to get you a little Mr. Dirk special there. We squeeze Struddy in, and no promises. But maybe next season on the pod, Gager.
All right. Yeah. I like it.
We're looking at 3 to 5% off for you, Gager.
Well, that's good, because it's going to be a lot of material the way I'm eating right now. So that's all right.
Hey, Struds, do you know what's about to happen, buddy? With me away, you're in the big chair. You're hosting tonight.
Right.
And you've got to do the breakdown sponsorship read. And that's, of course, my brother's company. And we all know what happens when you try and do this. So I actually scripted it out for you. You think you can get through it without absolutely like making a debacle of their company name, their life's work, their company name that my father blessed the company with, that you just butcher?
Yeah, I've suggested a name change in the past. It wasn't well received by brothers Rick and Rob. And so I'm going to settle that the name they have is good. I still think DIY might be something you want to look at, but I'm not
DIY vinyl.
I'm not. Listen, I'm a marketing genius. I'm not going to say they should change. I'm saying it was an option. And I remember I met your brother. He wasn't too impressed. He gave me the dirty hard handshake. I was like, message received, sir. Message received.
Yeah, that's Big Brother Rick, and you don't mess with Big Brother Rick at any time.
Heavy handshake. Gage, I was just trying to help out. I'm just helping people out, right? Like getting cats out of trees, helping ladies put their groceries in the back of their car, and changing companies' names. I've already been successful with the original name.
I hear you, buddy. You're a man of the people, like myself. Like the things that we do in the community for this city. It's
giving back.
It's a lot.
Giving back. All right. Well, let's take a shot at this, or say I'll take a shot at it, and that means it is time for the breakdown. Brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products, high quality, free vinyl decking and fencing products. If it's time for you to make a change in your backyard and you're sick and tired of staining, painting, sanding, considering maintenance-free with DLR Vinyl Products. Shaugger's brother, Rick and Rob, will help you out. And tell them I said the name right when you walk into that showroom. Say, Struddy sent you. But you do like DIY as well. All right, boys, let's get into the breakdown. So obviously, the NHL has gone through their season. We know who the Stanley Cup winners are. And tonight was all about, figuring out who the individual trophy winners were. Not a big surprise. Connor McDavid was able to take home multiple awards, the Ted Lindsay, the Art Ross, the Hart Trophy, the Rocket Richard. And I believe, Shaugger, you said, and I don't want to quote, but let me just put it in parentheses that this wasn't the year that Mr. Connor McDavid wanted to try to score a lot of goals. And I believe he said that in September. Now, I'm not going to put this on your back, but, you look at his season and the trophies, and what's more impressive, the Hart, the Lindsay that's voted on by the players, or this Rocket Richard most goals in the year trophy?
Yeah, I was wondering when you were going to start bludgeoning me over the head with that one, Struddy. You've had that in your hip pocket because he's been scoring goals all year at a crazy pace, and you really haven't hit me with that. But yes, I was the guy that said, I just don't see it in training camp that Connor's going to put a greater focus on goal scoring. And here he is, goes out and has one of the greatest goal scoring years of his generation. So well deserved, and that's perfect timing by you. Honestly, of his awards this year, though, guys, I will say that I think the Rocket's the most impressive, just because of the way he pushed it to a whole new level, and goal scoring. He didn't come in as a fabulous goal scorer. He came in as a really good goal scorer to the National Hockey League, but he turned himself in to an absolutely elite level goal scorer. And I just think it's really impressive the way he was able to shape his game and adjust his game and take a game that was already so brilliant, Gager, and add new ways of doing things. And we saw him find new ways of scoring goals, shooting through traffic, taking the puck to the middle of the ice more often, shooting through screens. Like, he wanted to do this, and he did it. And I just think that's really impressive for a guy that was already operating at such a high level, Gager.
Yeah, and not only that, but his shot selection was what I found. It wasn't just get it on and try to blow it past goalies. Like, he was putting it in certain places that if the goalie didn't make the save, it was going in the back of the net. He became more that threat when shooting. And it's funny how you say great goal scorers, right? And I think there's a great goal scorer, and then you have to have there's that notch up that's called a sniper, right? And do we really call Connor McDavid a sniper now? Like, I find it hard even still saying that he's a great goal scorer, even though he had 60 goals. It's crazy to say, like, but I want to ask you guys, because I was thinking about this, well, a couple things. My dog walks are my reflection time, and a couple of things, once in a while, things pop into my head. And like the season that Connor McDavid had this year, that alone is a Hall of Fame season. Like, he can be put into the Hall of Fame just with that season alone. But as you mentioned, the how he's taken certain parts of his game and gone to different levels. What does he bring next year? Right? What is the evolution of Connor McDavid look like next year to become an even better player that's going to help the Oilers even more when it's a more crucial time of the year?
Struds, I think I know what you think it should be, buddy. We've talked about it.
We have. And this is actually, for this one, we're going to reach into the Weiss Johnson quote machine. With 45 years in the business, they're Edmonton's #1 choice for air conditioners, hot water tanks, furnaces, garage heaters. If you need any of these things or need is serving them, make sure you give Dennis and the crew at Weiss Johnson a call, 780-463-3096.
Weiss Johnson.
Oh. You're a little slow, Zuby. You're a little slow on the trigger.
He wasn't ready for it,
buddy.
So this is the quote.
Go.
Yeah, so Mr. Connor McDavid was on there, and he received the Hart Trophy. And he was going through everybody and thanking different people. And he got to his teammates, and he wanted to thank them all. And he said, guys, we have, and I quote, unfinished business, end of quote. And for me, that is exactly what he's going to bring. He's going to bring that attitude. He's been looking at the tapes. He's been studying his game, and the points are amazing. But he is going to challenge himself, I believe, and his teammates, Shaugger, to be more detailed for 60 minutes and be really tight defensively. He is going to push those players to do that, because that's what you have to do to win a Stanley Cup. It's incredible what he's accomplished individually. He and Leon as well, and these guys score goals. And I'm not putting the losses on them alone, but as leaders of the team, I believe that's what they're going to do, Shaugger. And his quote-unquote unfinished business, I believe that is how he's going to get it over the top. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, and we've talked about this a little bit. This isn't like it was against the Chicago Blackhawks when they lost in the play-in. And we talked about how McDavid and Draisaitl needed to find a different level defensively in their game. before this team was going to be able to have success. I believe they've found that requisite level of defensive awareness in their game. I do believe they know how to play that way, whereas before, I think at the NHL level, they had yet to really dial that in. I think both those guys know how to play that way now. And I think sometimes what happens is, whether it's in a series or tight games or whatever, when they start squeezing and pushing, I think that comes out of their game as they push for offense, right? But to your point, Struds, I think it's going to be more about it's almost like a golfer working on his course management, right? Like you can find 2-3 strokes in your golf game just by managing your game a little bit better. So I think for McDavid, to your point, Struds, I think it's about game management. And I think part of that is taking something that he knows how to do. He knows how to play an excellent defensive game. He does. He's done it, and he's shown it, and he knows how to do it. And I think he's going to challenge his group to be smarter in moments, and he's going to challenge himself to be smarter in moments and bring that element of his game. He doesn't need to discover something here. I don't believe he needs to go in search of something he doesn't already know. I think it's about game management.
What do you see, Gager, about that and the unfinished business quote?
Oh, I love it. Right. I'm just, you see when the Stanley Cup finals are on, you got the NBA and you see these superstars. We've witnessed some pretty cool sporting events over the last few weeks with new champions. And I wonder if like Connor McDavid reaches out to, maybe it's not even a hockey person. Like maybe he goes and, talks to, I don't know, like someone from a different sport or like a winner that's done something before. Like, I'm not saying
Tom Brady.
Maybe he goes and talks to Tom Brady, right? And goes, hey, what did you do to get making sure everyone's on the same page? And just getting some different ideas from other proven winners, especially from out of the box sports that don't have any similarities to hockey and how it works. I think that could be beneficial. And I can't see anyone saying no to Connor like that. But I think that would be kind of beneficial for him to, because when I look at it, he didn't have a lot of great role models in the first few years. He had some good guys, but not real proven winners, and like you look at other organizations and guys that come out, and there's guys that have won and maybe their skills have dropped off a little, but they've won before and they could see what it took with those guys, that culture. And I don't think there's a culture problem in the room, but I think there's another level that it can get to with just a little bit extra seasoning, so to speak.
I like your original point, though, buddy. Sorry, I like your original point, though. Like season to season, Connor has challenged himself with something, right? We've seen it over the years. One year he'll come back and he's finding different ways to create offense. He's finding different little wrinkles to add to his game. But if you're McDavid, like, and you're analyzing your game now, like, what are you putting a focus on this off season? He just absolutely blew the doors off offensively. Like, I'm sure he can find ways to improve. But I like your point about how if he's really, truly wanting to put his finger on that thing that's going to move the dial and make a big difference, that really is the part of it. If he digs in the same way with his group on how to find that extra 5-10% at the other end of the ice in those moments where it's going to matter. And when Connor goes looking for something, guys, he knows how to find it, Struddy. He knows how to do this.
Well, you can take your game to a certain point and maximize your potential. So let's say that Connor's at 100% right now, which I think is probably fair. But you can't do it by yourself. He's not playing tennis or billiards or darts. He needs teams. So I think your focus shifts outside of it. And I'll give you an example. And I think I've shared this story before, but when I played the New York Rangers, Jaromir Jagr was there, and he would go around helping different guys. I remember he helped Brandon Dubinsky on his shot. He went and was working with some different guys, Merrick Malik and Roosevelt, on their shots. And then he took time to work. And I think I had 8 points that year, pretty good year. But he went out and he told me my stick wasn't good enough. And he spent time to get the right stick made for me so it was better. And he was 100% right. Like, it was so much better than the old log I had. So if you can go around and fix each player by 3%, 5%, that collective improvement is massive. So, you're not expecting Connor to run a hockey school for his teammates, but you can go around if it's just one comment, say, you know what, maybe you could think about trying this, or, have you worked on this, or whatever it is, just kind of going around. And I mean, he's a very smart hockey mind, and players, the teammates want to hear from those guys. When Jason Strudwick walks over to Jaromir Jagr and says, hey, buddy, maybe do this for a skill. He's like, buddy, get in the back of the line. But when it's the other way around, you're like, yeah, thank you, man. Like you want to hear from those guys. So, and then I think also he challenges guys. I think back to, a player that played for Lords that didn't block any shots. There's just no room for that anymore. You need to get into shooting lanes. You look at the way Vegas played, everyone paid the price. So I think he's going to turn his focus outside of it. And not that he's been selfish, but he's going to turn it on everybody else collectively. And I think Leon could do the same thing.
I saw some of that Gager in the playoffs. I was down at practice, and there was a couple of days where the amount of time he spent with Ryan McLeod was really something.
Yeah.
Like he was doing battle drills along the boards with Ryan McLeod. He was doing, extra face-off drills with Ryan McLeod. Like that's part of it, is when you're a leader is pulling out a certain, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% from other areas of your lineup that is going to make a difference for you, for the group.
Yeah, so I guess we can kind of summarize by saying it's not the individual skill that's the last piece of there's a few pieces, but a piece that Connor's next evolution is that intangible piece of making everyone better with not only on the ice but off the ice, kind of as well as with mindsets. I think that's going to be key, because look, what we saw with Vegas and what they did this year. There were guys playing above their pay grade, and for the Oilers to, when it comes around to the crunch time, they need those guys. They need their, your $1 million guy playing like a $5 million guy. I think that's how it's got to work. And one of the goalies has to go nuts for 2 months.
I love it. Now, guys, I made a note to myself that I wouldn't bring this up, but I can't let it go. So it's 196 votes for the Hart Trophy. Connor got 195, and there was one guy, and Pasternak got a first place vote, and that doesn't bother me too much. I'm not sure if we're going to say this, Shaugger, but someone gave Connor McDavid a 5th place vote. 5th place, like to me.
That's the same guy that gave Pasternak the first place vote.
No, who was it?
Well, it would be, wouldn't it? Wasn't McDavid?
Well, I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you're probably right. So, guys, I just there are times where this is my thought. I believe that voter is making a point, saying, no, I know more than everybody else. You're saying no more than 195 other people who all put that guy number one. I think if your vote is so out of line with everybody else, I think you need to publicly defend it. I think there should be a trial, and you put these guys in there and you say, what is your point? Take me through it. No, because honestly, his vote, he's making about him. Like I would love to know it just bothers me so much because he knows more. I know more than everybody else. What do you mean you know
the
more?
PHWA,
5th place.
The PHWA has talked about making those votes fully public, and a lot of the voters will publish their votes. I'd be really interested to see who that was for sure. That was Bizarro World, but I almost don't want to give it. What's that?
You should be banned. Honestly, if you do that, you should lose your vote, because it's so crazy. Like if it was a second, I don't agree, but I get it. But you're telling me that he's a 5th. So who is that in front of him? It would be Pasternak, McKinnon, Robertson, Tkachuk. All 4 of those guys are before Connor McDavid. It's just I hate that. I know more. I hate guys like, I can't stand it. I cannot stand that kind of thinking. It's just brutal. It really bothers me so much. It's like when Derek Jeter wasn't a full, everyone was unanimous except for one voter didn't put him into the Hall of Fame. Like, are you kidding me? What point are you making? You know more. You're making it about you, and that's the wrong attitude, I believe, when you're voting on awards, Shaugger.
Well, the heart isn't that big a deal to me, David. I mean, we know who votes on that one. It's the Lindsay, right? He multiple times then he talked about it being the most prestigious award. Gager, you think you would be the same if you were in line for the Hart and the Lindsay in 1 year? Which do you? I mean, the Hart, there's a greater history of it, and like this Hart Trophy it's iconic, right? But when you think about it, it makes sense for the players. Like, no, that's the one that actually really means more to me. Would it, you think it'd be the same for you, Gager? Like if we did a vote of like me and Struds voting for the Hart Trophy winner on this podcast versus the fans voting in their favorite, like what would you think?
Well, I won the Hart in the English Super League, so I no stranger to winning. Oh yeah, I won the Hart. The trophy's over there. I'll bring it for next time around.
What's the award? That's amazing.
The Player of the Year. That was me. It was,
took 16 minutes for him to get that out. 16 minutes.
Wow. It was a great time.
How much did you donate to charity?
No, I dominated. I dominated the English League in Scotland. It was quite the year.
Geez.
But
awesome.
Yeah, no, I would go Ted Lindsay. I think we all as the
pretty
player
meaningful.
getting the vote. I mean, the Hart's cool because you kind of grew up with that trophy as a kid, watching your idols win it, right, and seeing them hold it. But other than that, it's what your teammates do. And to your point, Struds, yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like Connor McDavid's season was so good that. And I know in Edmonton, we kind of get wrapped up in his play a little bit, but I was actually thinking, because I was worried about how the Oilers played defensively going into the playoffs, but the offensive ability and what he was doing and where we weren't, I didn't think we were going to see a guy score like this ever again. And for him to mimic numbers that were the same as back in the 90s, it was just crazy. So I thought, you know what? Maybe he can get past like some really tough defenses because he's doing it. But yeah, it goes to show defense does win.
It was pretty impressive. Before we wrap up the segment, two Struds, it was cool being here tonight. I thought, like, man, for the Stelter family to have been there, I thought that was fantastic. And I asked Connor afterwards, like, that was a complete surprise, and he said I had no idea. He was like gobsmacked on stage. He kind of said it just something felt off. And then all of a sudden, so they totally surprised him. I know some people felt like the interaction with Biz was a little cringy on the desk, but whatever, man. That ended up in $20,000 to the Ben Stelter Foundation. So who cares? Good on both those guys for doing that. But yeah, and I thought Connor handled himself really well in the media availability after. Like guys, McDavid, it wasn't just on the ice where he took some steps this year. He took some major steps off the ice this year too. And I don't know how much fans care about this stuff, but I can tell you he put a lot of effort into communicating better, being better in his interviews with the media. He's, taking that role a little bit more seriously. Like he's I'm not trying to patronize him here, not be father or anything, but he's kind of grown up here in town and we've seen it. And it just seemed this year off the ice, he made some pretty major strides. And I just thought those were on display tonight as well at this award ceremony.
Yeah, well said. And I think that he looks more and more comfortable and he's taken more on. And I think that is, when you talk about becoming, not that he was focused on himself, but you start understanding you're a massive part of this game we call hockey, your role in it, the way you can, market the game, bring more fans to it, and make fans really feel like they know you. I think it's great. Yeah. Connor's, he's done a great job. Shaugger, we're going to get you out of here, buddy. You got to go home and you got to press that suit for another big days coming up with the draft in just a short time.
Yeah, you bet, buddy. It'll be a busy day tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day where we kind of, all the general manager of the Canadian teams have their media availabilities. Ken Holland's going to talk tomorrow, so we'll be doing that here with the insiders. LeBrun, Dregs, and CJ are here, so we'll have some hits on tsn.ca. And yeah, busy couple of days. So have a good finish to the pod. Great chatting with you, boys.
Good talking to you. We'll catch up with you soon.
Joined now by Sterling Dirk, right inside the beautiful store over at Mr. Dirk. Sterling, time for a little rapid fire. You up for it?
I'm ready. Here we go.
All right, true or false? You took on title sponsorship of this podcast for the sole purpose of fixing Jason Strudwick's mess.
True. His wife came begging for help.
It's going to be a long, beautiful relationship. It's going to take us a while, pal. All right, true or false? If someone's frustrated looking at their wardrobe, doesn't like their options, it's immediately $1,500 to make any change.
False. You start with one item, you build it up. It's like anything in life. You just need to kind of start placing those pieces and then adding more and more, but it doesn't need to happen all at once.
True or false? Suits are the main thing that Mr. Dirk offers.
False. Actually, we carry a wide array of product from jeans, shoes, socks, underwear, t-shirts, casual wear. I mean, we specialize in tailoring, but we are head to toe for all of our clients from weekend to regular everyday office.
Great stuff. Check out the shop just off White Avenue at 102nd Street. And for all their stock, visit them online, mrdirk.com. Thanks, Sterling. I'll see you soon, buddy. I'm due.
We'll see you soon.
Hey, Struddy, question for you. Have you ever tried putting in your own fence?
I sure have. Between digging the posts, mixing up cement and digging the holes, it's absolute killer.
It's brutal on the back. Well, listen, what if I told you you could put in a fence without having to dig a hole or mix any concrete?
I'd be much more likely to come over and help you out.
Yeah, well, you're not the first guy I would call, but thank you for that. Listen, my brother's company, DLR Vinyl Products, they've come up with a system where you can actually put high-quality vinyl fence in the ground without having to dig a hole, without having to mix any concrete. They can teach do-it-yourselfers how to do it, and they can also work with contractors who might be looking to start installing vinyl. It's super high-quality product. The great thing about it is that it has fantastic longevity. You put it in, you don't have to worry about staining or sanding or anything like that. I've been lucky enough, Struddy. They've put in multiple fences in my different yards and they've built me 3 decks. I have totally abused the fact that my family is in the fencing and decking business, but it's great product. Give Rob a call in Calgary or Rick a call here in Edmonton. This is a company my dad started. It's a family business. I'm super proud of it. That's DLR Vinyl Products in Edmonton and Calgary.
Always great to have the boss away. Now we can really get out there and
Finally.
say what we think. Let's let this thing unravel on Got Your Back and Joaquin Gage today. Man, he doesn't know what he's got into. I wonder if he understands the danger his podcast is in right now. Gager.
He's in capable hands, finally. You know, we can let loose now. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's all
I mean,
right. That's
Nashville's not the worst place to be. If you're going to be there for 3, 4, 5 days, there's the worst place to be in the world than Nashville. Great place, lots of fun. I was always one of my favorite spots on the tour, Gager.
That's there's a reason why he cut out early. Yeah, I was only in Nashville for twice, and only once we got in there early. We left right after the game, but the night before, just hitting Broadway and going in, and I couldn't believe the music, and I thought it was just all country, but you'd go to one bar and it was rock and the country and rap, and it was really cool, and the vibe there was just awesome. So if you ever get a chance to go to Nashville, it's something else, man.
Yeah, we used to call it Nash Vegas. So I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's get to the takeaways now. Brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC, Canada's #1 GMC dealership, 5 years in a row. If you're looking for a new truck, car, or SUV, new or used, make sure you go see Phil and the great crew at Sherwood Buick GMC. Just off Baseline Road, Short Park. I saw Shaugger's Sierra 1500 elevation that day. It is a beauty, and he looks good in it. Even Ryan Rashog, looks good in it, so you know it's a cool truck. Check it out at our friends at Sherwood Buick GMC. So we're getting to that time in the NHL where you have the draft coming up, then free agency. It's all going to come the next 4 or 5 days. And we're hearing lots of rumors out there from the insiders, and we saw a couple trades happen. I want to get your thoughts on the first one here today, Joaquin Gage. Taylor Hall signs a nice extension with Boston, and now 2 years left on that contract. He and the rights to Nick Foligno, go from Boston to Chicago, a team that has zero talent, and in desperate need of talented players to play around what will be the first pick this week, Connor Bedard. So what do you make of this move for the Blackhawks and for Boston, Gager?
Well, if we start with Boston, Struddy, I like it. Freeing up a lot of cap space. I think they brought in some really dynamic pieces at the deadline last year to make their team even better, which was crazy to think after their regular season. But you played with Taylor Hall, I believe. So, and I'm I'm on the impression I didn't like him as a player. I'll be completely honest. I did not like the body language, how he conducted himself when thing. And I know the Oilers weren't a great team, and that's tough for a young guy to shoulder the responsibilities of a rebuild and basically being the centerpiece of that rebuild. He was, I mean, taking Kevin Lowe's number, everything around it. I just didn't like the way he looked on the ice. It just, for some reason, I thought he was he had to leave for the Oilers to get to. Once Connor McDavid came, I just thought, get rid of some of this extra baggage and go from there. Obviously, this is a few years down the road, and I think where he's won a Hart Trophy. He did drag the New Jersey Devils into the playoffs that one year. Just an amazing season. And going to a team like Boston with the veterans in the locker room and see how they operate. I mean, there's probably no messing around in that. You hear some Chara stories. Any sort of dispute in the dressing room was nipped in the bud right away. Yeah. Right? They were a team. Like, and even that filtered down. I remember playing against the Providence Bruins. You always felt like, gosh, these guys are really tight. All the times they're playing the Bruins or their minor league team, it seemed always the same. But I think I'm optimistic. I think it's a good move for Chicago just because you get Taylor Hall, who's still a good player. He's going to be playing with Bedard, and he can kind of pass on some of that knowledge that I think would have been more beneficial to have a player like that for Connor McDavid coming up. Not that Connor needs he doesn't need to be told what stick to use like you did, Struddy, but he just some of those intangible things that he could probably just some NHL wisdom, right, that you can give a younger player. So I think it's a great move because these guys are not only Bedard can see a guy that's won the Hart Trophy. He's going to listen to him, right? It's not Joaquin Gage going up to Bedard and saying, you got to do this on a goalie, right? This is a guy that scored. So really cool. I think it's a good move for Chicago. To me, it's taking a step, even because they're in a full rebuild. They've taken a couple steps, I think, with this.
I think it's a great move. Connor Bedard's going to be, there next year. It's obvious. And they need talented players and veteran players around them. Now, the problem is a lot of times to get those types of players, historically, you have to sign them to 6 or 7 year deals of UFA. And now when Bedard's coming through and he becomes really good, you have a guy who's 35 who's making whatever, $7 million. And now it screws up your cap. You kind of look what they did with Milan Lucic here. And I'm not picking on, but that's just an example. So, when you bring in a guy like Hall, who is a former first rounder and who's been a really good NHL player, very productive, he can talk to Connor Bedard about what's been through, what he's been, what it's like to go through this situation. He can help him on the ice because he's a fast skater. He can get up and down the ice and make plays, and just give him some support, like as an actual good player. So now you have 2 top 6 forwards there. Yeah. I don't think Anthony C was another guy who plays top 6. I don't know that he's a top 6 player. There's talk about Max Domi coming back. But again, for Max Domi, if he comes back, I would say, buddy, I'll give you a 2-year deal. Like, you don't want to be gumming up your cap with guys on big deals for long terms. And then you look at, Foligno, who comes over. I'm guessing that's maybe another guy you can maybe get. I'm not an insider, but if I was Chicago, I'd sign him. And again, it'd be maybe a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal. Another veteran, a bigger guy who's well-respected around the NHL, would be well-respected in that dressing room, would be able to talk to Connor Bedard and support him. So now you have 2 veterans who are coming from a winning team around him. Now you've got to need a lot more players. There's no doubt about it, but you've got to build some support around for these guys. And I think so. I love that move. Now let's go to another trade that happened. And this one I think has a direct impact on the Edmonton Oilers. Ryan Johansen goes from Nashville. Nashville keeps half the money, $4 million, and ships him over there really for Galchenyuk, whose contract's expiring. And I don't think they're going to sign him. I'd be surprised if Nashville signs him. But I think this is a really good move for for the Oilers. And this is why I see Ryan Johansen as a guy who plays a slower game. He wants to slow the game down, doesn't play at a lot of tempo. And when the Avs won their Stanley Cup, it was tempo. You know, you think of McKinnon, you think of Makar, you know, Cogliano, who was on let's call it the fourth line. You know, Nikushkin, you had Landeskog, Tempo over the lineup. Kadri, same thing. Now, Johansen, he doesn't play at that same tempo. I don't think anyone would call him like the hardest worker out there. So now, if that's a guy that you have to play against, if you're Connor or Leon, I'm guessing he's their second line center. He has 2 years left on his deal, but I don't think this is a bad deal for the Oilers to now that's a player you have to play against. I'd rather play against Ryan Johansen if I had the Oilers than Kadri when he was there, or some of the other guys I named off. What do you think of this deal that brings Ryan Johansen from Nashville for nothing for $4 million for the Avs?
At first, I was a little bit worried, Struddy,
Mm-hmm.
but I get into the Rolodex of players when in their prime, and he was a whale of a player. Like, I remember series against the Canucks and how dynamic he was. But this guy's lost a step. Let's face it. He's not the Ryan Johansen that we knew from before. And like you said, I think in the whole division, the Pacific Division, like that's a player that a lot of these centers are going to feed on. It's just is a guy, like you said, you got to check the Apple Watch to see if there's a pulse there sometimes. and the thing with maybe with that dressing room, like you see how fiery McKinnon is, right? Like when things aren't going right, he's yelling at everybody from the coaches to the trainers to his line mates. He does not give anything what he says to people. So maybe Johansson needs something like that to take him back to where maybe he was before. But yeah, I don't. If I'm throwing Leon out against him, we saw what Leon's done to him over the past few years in Nashville. So I don't think it helps the Avs as much as it would have a few years ago. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it is a really interesting move, and I quite frankly, a surprising one. I think there's a tie between Jared Bednar and Johansson, but man, I don't know. That's a big engine to get going. I'm not sure there's much coal left in that tank. Let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about just closer home to the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, a second round pick this year, and then some later picks. Not much going on, but when you look at this Edmonton Oilers team and where I think we can all look at the right side of the forwards, and we're looking at specifically Yamamoto. Is that a player that you think makes it through this next week as an Edmonton Oiler?
Oof. The right deal's got to come around, Struddy. I think that's for something to happen with the draft being only 3 picks. They have to get it right. And I think Yamo's a serviceable player, and guys like playing with him. But is he a good regular season player? And watching what happened in the playoffs, he came back healthy, scored a big goal. Let's give him credit, like massive goal that he scored. But the Pacific Division's a beast, man. Like it's Vegas, LA. It's the 3-pronged team. It's going to be very tough to get out of again. I think next year I don't see a lot of changes. Teams are going to improve, and that big, heavy defense that you're going to have to go through. He struggled. I felt he struggled against the Kings and struggled again against the Golden Knights. So the problem is the picks. It's you just have to, if you're going to do something, get rid of the picks, I think. But if get the guy you need from the draft, like the scouting staff they've had all year, they know what they have, what picks. They have to have an idea of what type of player they need and what's available at that spot. If it's not available, get rid of it and make your team better some other way.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. Pierre-Luc Dubois of the Winnipeg Jets has made it clear with other players as well on that team, it sounds like, and same with that Calgary, that maybe they're not going to sign an extension with 1 year to go on their contracts. But it sounds like, one of the preferred or potential destinations for Pierre-Luc Dubois is the LA Kings, or could be the LA Kings, Montreal Kings, or Montreal Canadiens are another team that maybe would be in that mix. Do you see, like, how much advantage in your mind if Pierre-Luc Dubois goes to LA for maybe an Iafallo or a group of players? How much of an advantage would that be for them when it comes to playing against the Edmonton Oilers?
Massive advantage for the Kings if Dubois goes there. That's scary, Struddy. That's really scary to see what they were like in the playoffs this year. This just makes them even better. And for Dubois, I can't see why he wouldn't want to, right? I mean, the Jets were kind of that team on the cusp. I had them doing so much better in the playoffs for so long. Never really understood what happened there. But to go to a team like the Kings, and like, look, man, if I was thinking about it when on my dog walking reflections, that I really thought if the Kings beat the Oilers and go through, and if they beat, like, they could have been Stanley Cup champions too, the way they were, like I said, this Pacific Division, I think, is a lot better than what people thought it was. And
right.
If it's going to be very difficult that's going to make it even more difficult for the Oilers to get past the Kings in the playoffs if Pierre Dubois is there. He's a whale of a player. Adds a completely different dimension.
Think back to when Columbus beat Tampa Bay. He was he was the best player on the ice, I believe, for that series. And they rolled through him, and they couldn't keep up. He's a big guy, and now you put him in a 3-pronged attack at center with Deneau, and Kopitar. Oh, that is power down the middle, like big time power. Now I like Velarde. I think it was in Iafallo or two of the guys are talking about, and big bodies. So for Winnipeg, I'm not sure what else you can get out of it if that's this. And again, this is all just kind of hearsay. The deal was supposed to be done on the weekend, and here we are. Monday night hasn't been done yet, but it would be a big problem. And now you're looking at Ryan McLeod saying you got to compete against one of those 3 guys. Right?
Yeah.
Is it Kopitar? Is it Deneau? Is it Pierre-Luc Dubois? So again, you have to raise his game, because I think the Kings, I've been saying for a while, they're going to be really tough. They do have to figure out the goaltending situation. They have Gavrikov in net. I don't know who their goalie is going to be. And Phoenix Copley, it's a great story, but I'm not sure he's leading your team to a Stanley Cup, Gager.
I hate to say it, Struddy, about the goalies, because I was once one of them. Right. But do you the days of that guy that's plays 65, 70 games and goes on a run in the playoffs, I think they're over. And we see what happened this year. Like, it's crazy. You just need a guy that hits it right and is playing at the top of his game when it matters most. And it's so hard to predict if that's going to happen. You need great goaltending. You need a guy that is in consideration for the Conn Smythe by the end of it. I think he has to be playing at that type of a level. But you need to make the playoffs and just have a guy that's playing at their best, and that's the way goaltending's gone so far. So, man, that's a question mark for the Kings, but I don't think it's as big as it really is.
Can't wait. I can't wait for these next few days, because I think we're going to see quite a few significant trades. Or it sounds like we're going to get to the draft, and then free agency starts on Saturday. So we'll have another podcast or two as we work our way through the next 4 or 5 days. Gager, great having you on here, buddy. Nice to have another good-looking guy on the podcast join me.
It's amazing when 2 titans of the industry meet. Well, it's unbelievable.
Sportsnet specialist. Buddy, thanks for joining us. And everyone, thanks for tuning in. Check in for a podcast in just a couple days. And for Shaugger, myself, Gager, and of course, Zoobs, thanks for tuning in. And we'll talk to you soon later this week.